Manchester City are in absolute crisis. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around this free-falling giant this season, Manchester City, who are in absolute crisis right now. They are looking in absolute shambles. They are looking like a completely chaotic, incomplete, disarrayed team. Completely unlike what we have known, seen, or come to expect of a Pep Guardiola side in many a year, no matter where he has been. This is unlike Guardiola. This is unlike City. And the cause isn't just because of one player's injury. We're going to be talking about City. We're going to be talking about the complete and utter down in the dump scenario and the pressure that has seemingly got to each and every single one of them players. But before further ado, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both of them is always and forever greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That might be great interest in reading, I'm sure, on this particular topic, on this video. I'd love to hear what you have to say down below. So please do use and abuse that comment section, people, and talk to me on this. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Manchester City. Let's talk Pep Guardiola. Let's talk the incredible season for all the wrong reasons that Manchester City are currently having right now. Look, we've talked about this already. We talked about how City were in crisis. We've watched it unfold before our very eyes these past several weeks that City's results just haven't been there. Even before the results started to turn sour and took a complete nosedive, even their performances were leaving a lot left to be desired. And we just sort of anticipated and expected that City would gradually move through the gears as the season wore on. We kind of thought City would start slow, they would gradually build, and then around about Christmas to New Year to February time, that's when they really turn on the style. That's when they really turn on the intensity. That's where they really arrive at the party and just take it from there, really. And a lot of us sort of expected them to be in the title race. But here we are in the very early days of December. And we're already talking about a City side that's title challenge has already had the final nail be driven into it. How is that possible? How is that even a thing? That hasn't been a thing in many a year, especially not under Pep Guardiola. Like this is new territory. This is brand new to us. This is insane to each and every single one of us. We have never anticipated or expected this whatsoever. But that's the reality of the situation that City are facing right now. They are a team that is in total disarray, complete chaos, and they are looking a shadow of their former selves. Take the game against Liverpool on Sunday. Liverpool dominated, Liverpool were worthy winners, they were rightful winners, and the only saving grace that I can give City, the only positive that I saw in that game for Manchester City was that this game only ended 2-0. The scoreline, in my opinion, completely and 100% flattered Manchester City to the point where they're looking back on it and going, oh, should have been 3, should have been 4, should have been 5, should have been 6-0. But it was only 2. Liverpool let them off the hook there big time. Performance-wise, Liverpool dominated, and Liverpool was smart about the way that they played. First half, they were aggressive. They were tenacious. They pressed beautifully. Second half, they sat back. They sat off a little bit. They allowed City to have the ball because they knew that City were going to try and grow into the game, get a foothold of the ball, try and obviously go in search of that equaliser, and Liverpool were going to try and pick them off on the counter-attack. And it worked to perfection for Arne Slot's men. But the little stories underneath are, this is a team that are scared. This is a team and a squad that are terrified of making mistakes. This is a team and a squad that are so nervous when the ball is in and around them. This is a team and a squad that is lacking leadership, that is lacking someone to take the ball, to take the game by the horn, so to speak, and drive this team through it. This is a team that is so scared, second-guessing themselves. And all of those things were not normally traits of a Pep Guardiola side. Those are normally the things that you would go, they're not in a Pep Guardiola side. They very rarely come to the surface. They very rarely happen. Because that's why Manchester City have been such a well-oiled machine these past several years. That's why they've gone on to dominate the Premier League the way they have done. It's why they've gone on to win so many major honours. Because they weren't nervous. They were courageous. They weren't second-guessing themselves. They were just going for it in their minds. And yet we're not seeing any of that right now. Defensively, they're in chaos. There's no leadership there. And the ones that you would expect to be leaders aren't stepping up. Kyle Walker, in my opinion, is an absolute fraud. Always has been, always will be. But he's still got plenty of experience. But he's not helping his teammates through it. Ruben Diaz on Sunday was abysmal. Nathan Ake, shocking. Akanji, I like Akanji, but he's not been the same player this season as he was last season. In the midfield, Gundogan. Did Barcelona replace him with a clone to send back to Manchester City? This guy is not the same Gundogan that left Manchester City. Probably proof why a lot of people say you shouldn't go back to Ajax in this case, I guess. But there you have it. That's probably a good rule in football as well. He is a shadow of his former self. No one else is stepping up. If Haaland doesn't score, Manchester City struggle to get goals, and of course they're going to struggle to actually win a game. Sounds like a Michael Owen quote, but when your second top goal scorer this season is your left back in Guardiola, where are the goals going to come from? If Haaland doesn't score, where are the goals coming from? And it's not to say that City don't create chances, because they do. They're one of the top creators in the league. Their XG is one of the highest in the league. But if Haaland isn't the one scoring, no one else is, because none of them are prolific enough. You look at a Liverpool right now, playing at the top of their game. When Jota's fit, he scores goals. When Nunes is fit, it's 50-50 whether he'll score a banger or whether he'll miss a tap-in. But he will chip in every now and again. Diaz has started scoring goals this season. Gakpo started scoring goals this season. And of course, Mohamed Salah is continuing with his consistency. They've got goals from different areas, and they can also get goals from different areas as well, beyond the forward line. In the midfield, McAllister can chip in every now and again. Szoboszlai really can. And defensively, Trent can pop in a free kick every now and again. Can also score a worldie from outside the area. Van Dijk, Konate can all score from set pieces and are all a danger from them. What have City got other than Haaland in the final third? What do they have? They have Foden, who has been anonymous all season so far. He's been a complete ghost this season. You have Jeremy Doku and Savio, and Grealish. You can add Grealish to this list as well, of players that look nice on the ball but do absolutely nothing with it, or very little with it, or are very inconsistent with their final product. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy right now that they have all of this talent, all of this quality, thrown all this money at these types of players, and their team falls apart, not just because of Rodri, but just because the mentality shifts. Some of those players may be old, maybe getting on in years. Some of those players may been past their use-by date. Certain players, I've always said, have a kind of use-by date where you get the best of them for a number of years and then you have to move them on regardless of the age they're at. We saw it at Liverpool, the likes of Fabinho and Jordan Henderson. They needed to be moved on a season before they actually were. They crashed. And that's why I'm seeing a lot of parallels between that season where Liverpool finished 5th and this season with Manchester City. I am seeing an ageing squad that has completely blown the engine up, both mentally and physically, and is in need of a major, massive rebuild. Major, massive rebuild. That is going to have to see a lot of players leave and a lot of new players brought in. There is a massive rebuilding stage on the hands of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City right now. And you know what? I will just mention the Rodri thing before I go more into the rebuild. There's no doubt about it, Rodri's phenomenal. There's no doubt about it, he was a rightful winner of the Ballon d'Or this year. No doubt about it in my mind. You can see the record he has when he's playing for Manchester City and for his country in comparison to when, of course, he's not there. But one man doesn't make a team, or it definitely shouldn't in this case. But you look at that midfield, lacking leadership, lacking stability, lacking any sense of direction whatsoever, being completely nervy whenever the ball drops into those little pockets of space between the defence and the midfield as to, should I go, should you go, second guessing themselves rather than just putting their foot through it, rather than just getting their foot on the ball and just passing it around. There's nothing there. And on Sunday, there was nothing there in that position, and there was nothing going for them further up the pitch as well, because they didn't change the tempo, they didn't quicken the tempo up, they didn't penetrate that Liverpool back line. There was nothing. There was nothing different being thrown in. There was very, very little from Manchester City whatsoever. And the rebuild is desperate and is obvious for everybody to see. Guardiola's got a lot on his hands right now. This rebuild is going to be massive. It's going to be monumental. It's going to be a complete overhaul of this squad. Players that have been past their use-by date, players that are just not good enough, players that are completely done, somewhat in football, I guess, in certain cases. It's massive. And this is going to be a real big test of how good Pep Guardiola really is. Because he's always compared to the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson. And even some may even say like a Jurgen Klopp. But they could rebuild teams. They could build teams from nothing. They could rebuild teams from having the structure and then having to knock it down and rebuild it. Guardiola's never really had that, because when he was at Barcelona, he took over, he sprinkled his little bit of stardust on that team, brought in a few players, made them one of the best teams that we've ever seen. Bayern Munich took over one of the biggest and best teams in Germany. Domestically, it should be Bayern Munich's anyway. He just ensured that. He was fortunate with that. And Manchester City, again, he's had money. He had the squad that was already winning Premier League titles even before he was there. He's never really had to do as big of a rebuild as what he's doing right now. But he has to. That's the next step for him. And this is going to be a make or break for him now, in my opinion. Like, he's still going to be a fantastic manager. He's still going to be phenomenal. But if he can't rebuild this side and get them back to challenging almost instantaneously, I feel like it could probably damage his reputation somewhat. Not completely, but somewhat, on some level, it potentially could. Like I say, Sir Alex Ferguson did it on a number of occasions. Jurgen Klopp did it. And I tell you one thing, at the beginning of this season, when Klopp left Liverpool and Slot took over, and obviously we were looking ahead to the season, no one would have put, not even myself, Liverpool to win the Premier League title this season. And I bet a lot of people would have said they're top 4 at most, but then in a season or two, they're going to drop. Because that squad is not good enough, because that squad is aging, because that squad is not good enough, or whatever the case may be. But no one would have thought, or very few people were actually thinking this squad that Jurgen Klopp was leaving for Arne Slot was actually good enough, solid enough, or just had the quality to do what Liverpool are doing right now and to have the promise and potential that Liverpool have right now. But look what's happened. With no major additions to this Liverpool side, look where they are, look where City are. Big testing times for Pep Guardiola coming up. City need a rebuild. City need to find some way of rescuing this season. They have to... For me, I think personally, like, their title race is probably done. I think their title race is probably done. I think they have to limp to January in order to have any hope of trying to restore it for the second half of the season. We know that crazier things have happened. But if they are to have any hope of trying to restore it, or even trying to save their season by going after another competition, an FA Cup, Champions League, of course, is still potentially on the table. They need to limp to January, and they need to spend in January. But they need to do it right. And they need to obviously get them players to hit the ground running, because one thing about Pep Guardiola signings is that they don't tend to normally hit the ground running. Well, whoever is going to bring in January needs to do exactly that, because of the failures of that club to evaluate the squad and look at places where it needs strengthening, reinforcing, growing, evolving, or just damn right replacing. City have failed to do that. And you kind of put the trust in Guardiola and Man City, like, where they steered us wrong before. This is great. We're winning trophies. In Guardiola we trust. In the club we trust. Their signings in recent years haven't exactly hit the mark. Things need to improve there. Look, those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, the rut that they are going through right now, this patch of form which is absolutely abysmal by their standards and absolutely hilarious for the rest of us. I want to know what you guys are thinking and feeling. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, your opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on Manchester City and Pep Guardiola down below in that comment section. Use and abuse that section, people, and talk to me on this topic. Would love to know what you have to say on it in its entirety. Hit the like button on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Thank you all, of course, for your continued or even brand new support to the channel. Very much appreciated. Welcome along if you are new. Thank you for being here. Love that you're here, and thank you again for hitting the subscribe button, I guess. And that will always be something that I will never take for granted and will always be appreciative of. So thank you all so much for that. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video, a live stream, or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you again.